Are we live?
I believe so. We
Welcome to, if we're live, well, welcome to Cut and Play of CrossFit, Mindstream episode. Are we live? No. What's going on?
we're live now. Good.
Are we live now? All right, welcome to Cut and Play of CrossFit, Mindstream episode 9, I think. No, 10, episode 10. Yeah, week 11. I think this is when we're peaking. I call it peaking and pacing at the same time. Yeah. I guess the general question today is, have you any of you ever secretly wondered if you have to leave your job or your marriage or your city to go all the way in on the path? Has that question ever crossed your mind? Yeah. Whether that's like a monastery or retreats or even, oh, do I have to give up this versus that? Because I think one of the most frequently asked questions that I receive is, like, Frank, do I have to like stop doing this in order to get the awakening? Do I have to stop drinking? Do I have to like quit my job? Like I have all these business ideas. Should I drop all the ego stuff, like the self development stuff, and go for like self annihilation or self transcendence? Because there's always this split, right? We talk about that a lot, how the dualistic mind always has a split. Always have to choose. Maybe we don't have to choose. Yeah. Oh, is that what we're talking about today, Con? Like we're
Yeah, we were discussing it because I think for the main bootcamp right now, everyone is integrating the gains,
Mhm.
whatever in the last 10 weeks been training. Now it's time to put it in action, living our life again. And I think that's
Mhm.
maybe the unique thing about CC Container, which is everyone is pretty much just going about their ordinary lives while going through this.
Yeah. Even Chris, like I think Chris, when you joined cohort 5 and 6, you were like a nomad, right? You were traveling around, and I'm very familiar with that lifestyle as well. I haven't traveled too much in the last couple of years, but Chris, you were traveling quite a lot, right? And you were still doing the boot camp, and you somehow made that walk.
Yeah. Yeah, before I joined CC, I remember I was kind of at a crossroads where I was like really planning to heavily commit to something. I wasn't sure yet. And I was really leaning towards the nomad route because something about it like really drew me in. I feel like there's a lot of growth in that path. And then you know, kind of a lot of happy accidents happen, but a lot of plans fall through, a lot of things happen, and just CC just was right there when I was ready to commit to something.
Mhm. How were you able to balance out the nomadic life with CC?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm actually thinking back. I'm not sure how well I did it. I'm not sure
You
if I,
did it.
yeah, it felt
I
like a
remember
lot.
Chris
Was
used
that?
to join like while on a hike or like out on a beach or like all sort of different background scenarios.
Yeah. I think there's probably a recording of me on every form of transport, like plane, train, gondola. Um, yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, no, I think, a lot of the way I balanced it, I think was, um, I mean, it just sounds cheesy, but just committing to whatever I was doing at a time. Like if I was out like in a hostel or hanging out with different people, I'm here. And then if I was in a CC thing like discussion or a sit, I just try and be completely there.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the thing I noticed. Maybe in terms of a personality structure wise, both of you guys, you have that kind of gung ho, go for it energy where you just really go out and explore. I think both you guys are really big in on traveling. I know that Frank is has that entire phase after COVID where you like spend really 2 years on the road, traveling from place.
Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking about that phase and how like I really don't have any desire to travel, at least not right now. I think I've exhausted a lot of that. And then I think one of the the reason how I flipped that karma and realized that was actually a kind of a karma was when the boot camp started in cohort 5. Because at first it was like, okay, I'm gonna go test my realization. Right? And I made a whole series about I would go traveling and
At
meeting
that time,
people.
that probably means that probably feels like what it means to go all in, right? Which is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like this into different containers, meet new people, see whether you are shaken by different environments.
Yeah, for the most part, it was great. But then after a while, it was just like, maybe this going in has become its own blind spot. And then I realized that when I started doing CC in the beginning, when I was asked by our head coach to like, oh, you have to like stay home and host one of the session every day. And then I was just like, holy shit, I can't go out anymore. And I realized that was a pattern even before this whole awakening journey started. Like it's almost like we talked about in my recent content, like the solo realization path, where there's like a specific pattern that you have that you can't really see yourself because it's your pattern. And one of the pattern was like, I have to do things my way.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, it's just like my whole life, it's been like that. Right. I don't have to answer to nobody. And then even in the beginning of CC when me and Con started, it's like, oh, it's my business. I can travel. Yeah. But then after a while, that became like, it's again, that became its own blind spot where like I have to like flip that karma. So like what it means to go all in is also contextual, right? For like a couple of years, going all in means like, okay, exploring and traveling. And then I did think like I made a lot of progress doing that. But then like everything we've been talking about, whatever worked for you, that's your obstacle when it stops working. But then you keep doing it. It's like I gotta traveling more. Maybe I gotta travel more in order to like have refine my realization even more. I have to travel more. But I didn't have anyone to point out that blind spot for me. So I could have just spent the next 3 years just traveling around and then just maybe it weren't gonna be good for me. Yeah. But thankfully I have like, teammates and companions now, like, okay, Frank. And it's very MC is such a genius in like repatterning your karma while still making you feel like you want to do it, which is not untrue. I still love hosting the calls. And I remember the first couple of cohorts when we did the live stream, I would get pretty tired like around this time. My
Mm.
fitness has increased. Like right now, I feel great, but then it took work to like, okay, I have to host this. In the beginning, it was like me and Con and Taylor, and I remember all of us could get pretty tired by
Yeah.
like week
Yeah, we
9.
can't even do a whole run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we can do it. We had to take breaks. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is just showcasing the fitness we've gained with each other, training with each other, right? And it's very specific what we need, and then not just the MC, our head coach, but like all the mentors and the teammates. We all just kind of figure it out together. What do you need like in this particular phase of your training? It's different for everyone. Yeah. So to
Mm.
go in, what does that mean? Yeah.
Yeah. What does it mean to
Interesting
go?
question. Yeah. Because
Because
for one person, they would think going all in is like monastery. Like 3 months retreat. I haven't gotten awakened. Let's do like 3 years. But then that could just be perpetuating your own blind spot and your own view. Because I think Dan Brown said like he doesn't actually recommend long retreat because, well, number one, you can get kind of addicted to your absorptions and your mystical highs, and number two, if you don't have the right feedback, you're just going to be perpetuating your own loop, like deeper, and then whatever you ignore, I'll be talking about how ignoring is a condition of ignorance and a condition of suffering. That's creating all the split. You can actually make the split even bigger, and
Mm.
the things you're ignoring bypass can get buried even deeper. And then by the time you can't stay in a retreat forever unless you just like renounce the whole world for the next like 20 years or like a whole lifetime. You have to come back to life, like, and then all this stuff will come up, and you're gonna have to force to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do have a few points we want to mention here. Want to go over this through this live stream right, with Chris and Frank here. The point of one we're talking about is what is this split, right? What is this split
Mhm.
between like my life right now doesn't have the condition yet for me to really go deep, go on in,
Mhm.
and what going on in would look like is maybe a monastery on the road or radical change, right? It's got to be some sort of radical change. This
Or having teammates, companionship, that could be like going on in for a lot, most people that been practicing solo.
Yeah. And point number two, then, based on our observation, maybe our own journey or people who train with CC or just general observation of practitioners out there, maybe we can also talk about what renunciation looks like, what giving up looks like. Yeah, because I
Mhm.
think both you guys um, through the boot camps went through some sort of like a renunciation, changing
Yeah.
your lifestyle, changing the way you show up. Point number three then is like this what it means to come as you are. Live training is mind training, right? Where we
Mhm.
don't need to move anybody or to anywhere else. We just stay where we are and work from there. And point number three we want to talk about today is the limitation of doing it all by ourselves.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we do see that there's this narrative that yeah, people feel like it's either gotta be a retreat where you go there and you process your feelings. I think Chris, you was mentioning this kind of sentiment about like you got this deep container where you go in and then you just process a lot of stuff and you take this purity and you come back to your life and you try to integrate it, but then life becomes so busy, so then you look forward to the next retreat.
Yeah, it's like a perpetual cycle of processing. Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting when you mentioned that earlier. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like you just you're processing something and you have to process what you're processing. You just keep trying to process what you process infinitely.
Well, it's like funny. We just it's like there's just this habit. It feels like a really human habit where we want to silo something, and I think it makes sense in a way. It's like we want to uh, uh like have our conditions like set so we can like make sense of things. Um, but I think it can create this dynamic where it's like I mean, like I know for myself with all the traveling is I was, there's some seeking going on where I'm looking for novelty, for new things, for like some sense of change. But then, you know, there's like the other side of it of like, where's the sense of stability in that, where I can actually process these things are changing. And it could be like a similar dynamic too with like even how we can treat these meditation retreats where like we go to these retreats, looking for some realization, some processing of what our life is like. And then like maybe we do it over there, but then when we come back home, it's like in that process, sometimes we like appropriate like that notion of processing to, oh, I got to be on retreat to do this thing. I can't do it back at home.
Mm.
And then like, but then there's all this stuff like you process all this stuff in retreat, and now you got to reintegrate that to your everyday life. But then it's like, oh, I don't know how to do it in my everyday life. Like I need another retreat to do that. And then you just end up like, oh, well, I'll wait for the next retreat, and it just, it just turns into a whole loop, a whole cycle.
Mm. Yeah, I really like Con what you said about sometimes people go to retreats or even having that, not even retreat is just a representation for like siloing, right? Your own container, your own bubble. You're like the heroic kind of lone wolf. I'm on this realization thing. Nobody gets me. I have to do this myself. It could seem like an entry, like you're actually going in, but if you're not careful, if you don't have the view checked, it can be like an exit strategy, actually, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's because I think like especially to younger folks now we have the term like going monk mode. Like I'm gonna disappear for 6 months.
Yeah, I've seen videos like that on YouTube. How do you disappear? And it's like, no one knows where you are. You come back like a lion or
I'm gonna
something.
disappear. I'm gonna go offline. I'm not gonna post anything. I wanna just hunker down and grind.
Yeah.
Either like put in the hours with meditation or grind on my business, or there's just this aesthetic about what it means to be a monk is to be
Mm,
distant from everything and everyone else.
yeah. Yeah. It doesn't even have to be like a retreat. Like you say, even like, okay, I'm gonna just start my own business and I'm gonna be very productive. I'm gonna go to like 10 meetings. Even that can be a way to escape, right? If you don't, if your relationship to it isn't checked. Yeah.
Oh, even like the traveling thing too.
Mm.
It's actually funny. I did that exact thing. There's a point in my life where I rented a cabin in the woods and I just like lived there by myself for like 2 to 3 months.
Mm.
And I walk out of that and I like go travel somewhere, like somewhere in like a big city in Europe or something, and I do that for a few months. And like even though it's completely different, it was kind of exactly the same for me.
Mm.
Because as part of it is like I'm in the cabin in the woods, I'm isolating, like, But then when I be out there in maybe I'm like in a hostel somewhere, like traveling, it's like I'm also isolating from this version of me, like that's that's stabilized and steady, like has a home, in one place. I'm just like I was like separating myself from what I thought was like kind of boring, mundane, like everyday living and living in like maximum novelty for months at a time.
So you'll be like kind of still avoiding the same thing almost. It's just dressed differently, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Do you guys think is there could be a diminishing return to it? Of course, like I see in my case, for example, I moved from Vietnam to the state for higher education, and I can see like, oh, okay, this is actually changing a lot of condition, a lot of things come up, and now there is a much greater chance to review it. So for me right now, more traveling is still yielding a lot of benefits for me. Right?
Mm.
But I wonder if for both of you guys, where you have extensive travel experience or just engaging in many different contexts, do you think it could be a diminishing return? At which point is like enough is enough?
Yeah, I think Chris, you mentioned something earlier about how the stimulus and the novelty, it can actually mask itself as a way of progress. It's like I'm getting all this, meeting all these new people. I'm collecting all these different techniques, traveling to all this different country, and all those experiences are just gonna make me a more refined person, or like, oh, I'm deepening my realization that way. But maybe it's not, right? Maybe there is a point of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Yeah, after a certain point.
Yeah, I can do. I think like I mean looking back for myself, I think a lot of the reasons why I traveled is I had this kind of felt sense of feeling like I was an outsider and even in my hometown I feel like an outsider. And then like I think what I got out of traveling is I'd in a place where I'm literally an outsider, like I don't know anyone here. And then I meet other outsiders, other travelers. And then we start to resonate. I start to like, oh yeah, I start to feel at home with the fact that I have other outsiders around me,
Mm.
and yeah, and there's a lot of value to that, right? Because then you start to see like this sense of being an outsider's relative. It's like it can change different places. But I think for me, the diminishing return was I started to identify with that, you know, with like now I'm an outsider for real, right? Now there's a good reason for it. Now I can justify this feeling, and I can, it just like what became congruent. This feeling that made no sense now it makes sense. But
Mm.
I didn't actually process that feeling and like, oh yeah, like this outsider. It's like I'm generating the feeling. I got kind of lost chasing like how do I remove this, and then the kind of the paradox too is like how does an outsider stop feeling like an outsider? He just meets more outsiders. It kind of strengthens the root disposition to begin with.
Yeah, kind of amplifying
Mm.
each other, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's its own echo chamber, right? Yeah.
I think that I've observed that pattern also in spiritual seekers, practitioners, because very often that people feel very isolated and alienated from their friends and family when they're interested in Dharma, awakening, meditative for insight, those things. Because we
And then
talk,
they could get together.
yeah, and they get together. So now these people
Finally,
get,
someone gets me.
yeah. But this is a big but, is that because we are so used to that momentum, now we can't stop and we can't slow down and actually share experience and talk to each other because I don't know, maybe some audience watching this have that sense of you've been on the fence, you watch many different YouTube materials, maybe you like join and watch these side stream, but there's that shyness that people just look and not really engage. We're so used to just being the outsider, so even when we resonate with these materials, we don't like
Mm.
book a call or like jump on an
Yeah.
opportunity to engage. We're so
Now
used
that's
to
the edge right there.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you want to break through the edge, then you're gonna have to engage. Actually, I kind of realized that when I first started working like with CC as well.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
like at first, I remember the first boot camp. I was kind of like I didn't share anything in the discussion. I was just like doing my do nothing meditation, doing the transmission, and I realized too I'm missing a huge chunk of the training by not engaging. Not that I did it on purpose, but just like I just never got a chance to explore these kind of dynamics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
so unfamiliar, right? Because if we build a life out of this momentum, these
yeah,
choices, just do it your way, do it your
yeah.
way, do it your way. Yeah,
And it works up to a certain point. Yeah,
yeah.
that's why the diminishing return, you really have to like acknowledge that, right? Whatever works in the past for you might be the obstacle. Yeah.
So how did you, for example, Frank, I know that at around cohort 5, you break through a lot of this kind of dynamic of the solo bubble. How did it happen
Yeah.
to you? And maybe for Chris, like I know this cohort is the first cohort where you don't travel. You make a decision at the beginning of the cohort, kind of like I'm going to change something up. How did you guys cross over this chasm?
Mhm.
Well, there are several different moments that I don't remember them all. It's just a slow process. I remember one time like Albert and Machen were just eating hot pot, and then I think you were there too, Con. Like it was a conversation over Zoom from me and Con, and there's something about that conversation. Also, like around, I was thinking it was Thanksgiving when I was really seeing like the other emptiness more and more, and then we're talking about the Bodhisattva path, and then I think Khan, you mentioned that, oh Frank, maybe like your entire life doing those video, whatever, you were actually already on the Bodhisattva path. You thought you were on like the Arahat path, but actually you were always on the Bodhisattva path. And something like that was like one of the first seeds I got planted. I was like, oh, maybe I'm doing this um as a team with a bunch of people. It's always been like that, actually. I just didn't have the right relationship to it.
I love gaslighting people. They're just like, no, you always dream about this.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I remember that conversation. Yeah. That's like to also recontextualize what our path has been about, right? Connecting all these different dots that seems very scattered.
Yeah. Yeah. But then there was a place for that path, right? But then that path has exhausted itself. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think for myself, yeah, I think it had to be exhausted for me as well.
Mm.
You know, it's funny actually because I earlier mentioned like what does it mean to go all in, and dude, I used to think going all in was like max everything on all cylinders, like do everything. And I think that's kind of what I was trying to do for a while. It's like I had like this travel life. I wanted to max that out, and then I wanted to max out CC at the same time. And like these other things I want to max out those. And the last boot camp I was like really trying to push it, like really trying to do everything. And at a certain point, like there was just straight up like a conflict of interest there. Like I can't do all of this and all of that. And
Mm.
you know, it's like uh, I didn't want to. It was just too much. Like I would even if I could, like man, I wanted to rest. And I think I started adjusting my concept of what it means to go all in. Like I used to have, you know, like I said, max everything, but now I'm looking at more as like what's kind of like the bare minimum I'm willing to do always, all the time.
Mm.
What's my baseline? Can I raise my baseline?
Yeah, because I
Well,
think so. There's a there's a there's a point here about a lot of time where we have this conception about going on in as some sort of like a self annihilation. I gotta completely stop that and like go for this. Right?
Mhm.
And then it's always create that kind of inconsistency where then the sense of commitment, we have difficulties with following through with that. So the baseline is just up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down.
Also,
yeah,
you get burned out too, right? If you
Yeah.
don't know how to pace. Yeah.
And I think
yeah,
like both of you guys to really demonstrate a lot of that kind of exertion, kind of Herculean effort, right? Like going hard, doing a lot of activities, pushing yourself, like just being very, very prolific, just doing a lot of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. But I think through all that training, right now it doesn't. Even when I'm going all in, it doesn't feel like going all in is like its own thing. Before it was like, okay, there's going in and then there's not going in. Like even in the mental landscape, there is like a split. But now it's just like going all in almost seems like it's just part of the contemplative lifestyle. But
Mm.
going all in also means pacing, right? Like I've been saying, like I feel like I'm peaking, but I'm also pacing at the same time.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
just finding that balance.
that's a big thing for me too. Is like to me now going all in feels like an expression of that baseline.
Mm,
You know, like where am I
interesting.
actually at? And then like, okay, I can go all in a sense from recognizing where I'm at. Whereas in the past I was just like I can do anything, you know, have that
Mm.
like I can, you know, superpower and just like do the thing. But you know, but then that has consequences. Like I would like you were mentioning, I would burn out so much. Um and then not even realize that I was burning out and then not even recognize, oh yeah, these are the behaviors that were causing the burnout.
Mm. Yeah. There could be such a thing like a spiritual burnt out in that way as well, right? You go really hard,
Really.
especially if someone had access to all these techniques.
Psychedelics. See, we've seen a lot of people doing psychedelics. They get burned out. They don't even know. They get injured, actually. Wow.
Yeah, like so fried, can't integrate, destabilized.
And then they try to find more techniques to try to like fix the burnout, but then they're still perpetuating the same loop actually. Yeah. I don't know, it's just a slow kind of like grooving into this lifestyle. Yeah.
Uh,
You just don't realize, oh, actually, like I kind of exhausted this or that, or like I'm like very integrated, but you don't think about it actually because you're in like if you're still making that split, then there's something that hasn't been integrated in a
Mm.
sense. Yeah. That's why sometimes I say you don't know what you've exhausted unless you. It's hard to say. It's like 'cause I think a lot of people they go into this path. There's also like a commentator in their head. It's like, oh, I mean, I really let go of that. This is the last thing I'm letting go of. Or like, there's still a commentator. It's like, oh, making it into a thing. I let go of that already. You wouldn't think that if you truly let go of it in a sense, right? It's like, oh, I don't have a self. I let go of myself. Like, oh, I'm shrinking or whatever. It's just like it's just suddenly you just realize, oh, I'm not really attached to that anymore. Like, I don't really care about that anymore that much. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's why I think in the methodology that we cultivate together, there's a lot of emphasis on tangible, measurable
Yeah,
changes.
yeah,
How does that
and also,
show up in terms of action?
mm,
And it fall right back into modernity,
yep,
which is how we're showing up is, the frequency of the amount of times
mm,
that we follow through with what we say we're going to do.
mm.
Has that increased? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Things.
feel like sometimes in order to you can't really target the thing you're trying to exhaust. Like it's like the way that we train, I don't know how to explain it yet, but it's like there is a way like there's a way that you exhaust all these like different karmas and attachments without tackling that directly. Yeah, I think that's one of this what the boot camp provide. Like I haven't worked it out. Like it's different for every case, but it's like for me, that was a very concrete example of what I gave earlier. It's like, how do I repattern this way of like traveling all the time and I have to do this my way? Hey, but then still like, oh, do something that is still within your disposition, like doing hosting these calls. I still like doing it, or like doing a live stream. It's still within my disposition as like a broadcaster or whatever. But then it's repattern, like me interviewing people is not an example actually. It's like, okay, this is your pit instruction to go interview people. But throughout the process, I still enjoy it. But then that's somehow in a very sneaky kind of way repatterning you. Yeah, because you like I said, you can't if you tackle the karma directly, that's just like trying to tie a knot over here with another knot. But the way that the bootcamp is structured and how each acolytes or each even the mentors have their own like instruction that maybe it's not so obvious when you're going through it. But then you look back, you're like, oh wow, I'm like integrated in that aspect.
That's a really good point. Yeah, you can't target directly. Otherwise, you
But then
create.
part of the reason is like because of teamwork too, right? It's like now like there's a way for us to all work together that still targets our specific karmas and blind spots
Mm,
in a way where it's still about the team, but somehow the teamwork, whatever it is that we're doing, somehow it is targeting you in a very indirect way. We still have a cause. It's like okay, I'm doing this, and like we hop on these meetings, but then there's an underlying structure that was getting flipped.
mm.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you were mentioning is Frank about participating in this container. You're just living your life, but you're no longer exiting from it.
Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like there's a container. I'm always talking to you guys almost every day, but I don't feel trapped anymore. Yeah, that I feel like this is my practice, this is my life now. But I still have my own freedom, right? It's not like one way or the other. I can still like there was a week when I went to New York, but I was still going on the meetings. I was doing all these things, right? I still have we all still have our own lives with our own mandala, right? But then there's still the team and the CC, the teamwork is still there. So like it took a while to integrate, but I'm sure later on there's going to be more edges to work through. But it just shows that it doesn't have to be one way or the other, right? Mm.
Mm. Maybe we can have
What are the
remote.
other point? What are the other points? Do we cover? How many points did we cover?
I think we're covering point number 3, but there's a question. I think we can spend some time with the question.
Yeah, that's an interesting
In
question.
such a paradox, who is going
Mm.
on in? The inquiry that I use now is just meeting my conditions. It's just meeting my condition met silence. Any tips for a newbie on Kensho First Awakening? I guess the question or the topic is along the line of tips for first awakening. This is also actually a point that I want to clarify. So recently, we have analyzed that our container is strong enough that for people who haven't ever really experienced the first awakening of Kensho, go to the bootcamp and can still see a lot of benefits and gains out of it. I think in the previous round of bootcamp application, we've targeted and focused more for people who have an initial opening. And now what do you do to integrate with that? So that's a lot of our practitioners come from that background. In this round, for people even is going through like only with the glimpses, maybe some peak experiences, starting to notice dark nights, kind of symptoms, feeling very dreadful of the path or difficult materials come up. When they join the boot camp and just follow through with the protocols and do the training, it's really work to really open themselves up, allow them to see themselves clear. So want to shout out that even with people who identify with being more like a newbie and feel kind of overwhelmed by all this talk about post realization awakening, yada yada yada, you know, we've observed that bootcamp can actually work for you as well. So want to shout that out.
Yeah, also like maybe this ties back to like the point I was making about like just working as a team and then just following the instructions. It's like I don't think everyone that in CC that have realized emptiness really had that moment of like Kensho, like oh this like I had like a shift. Just like slowly this in the training, a couple of boot camps later, it was like holy shit, all right, maybe like I slipped into the view. Like yeah, it's like slipping into the view because yeah, because we sometimes we the way we refine our view is very, very subtle. Like we don't really target like big bangs or mystical experiences. It's like you just go through the process, you work through what you got to work through, follow the instruction, do the work together as a team. And it's like exactly my point earlier. Sometimes the progress you don't even know until you look back and it's like, oh, I'm in it. Yeah.
I think so far in the team, maybe there is Frank, of course, and there's John, who had like big
Yeah, big,
experiences. Yeah,
yeah,
big
yeah.
experiences. But yeah, like there could be a way, maybe like the signs that the container is working is just very smooth.
Mm. Like Manuel, like I talked to Manuel on the last week. We did like internal podcast. It's like it's amazing how far he's come. Like and he probably doesn't even realize it himself. It's just like yeah.
Yeah, but it show up in his conduct, right?
It shows up in his conduct and it shows up in the way he talks and like he wasn't trying to like make a thing out of it. It was just we're just having a conversation. And I was just like, yeah, dude, this guy came a long way. Yeah. Sneak up behind you, almost. Yeah. And his whole life changed. Like like he became a painter. He always wanted to like be a painter, but now he's actually really followed through with that. Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, also a lot of the progress we see isn't just like oh, if you had like a shift or not. Like it's not just buckle down to that one thing, right? It's like we look at like everything, every aspect of your life.
Relationship, how we show
Yeah.
up in work, our
Hmm.
ability to deliver results.
Hmm. Or just like this increase in the level of freedom. It's like slowly you just realize, oh, like I'm not like the things that used to bother me or like the level of suffering just kind of goes down like slowly, slowly. So it's like, oh, I'm actually pretty free right now, but there's not like a moment for not for everybody. It's like, oh, now I wasn't free, now I'm free, right? Especially that even after like a shift, like the exhaustion of the rest of your karma, it can be very subtle. It's just living your life and do the things you gotta do, take responsibility, showing up, and oh,
Yeah,
how to
in some
pinpoint.
ways that
Yeah.
I think, and I'm curious how Chris you experience the shift and observe because you've been here for a while.
Mm.
How
Yeah.
you observe people's transformation, but a lot of it is so normalized that it's like invisible.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mm.
I mean, let me mention one more thing. It's like when we do as a team, it's like when you exhaust your karma, there's no like your karma anymore. Like someone else is going through this stuff, and especially Chris is in a container where it's all relational fitness. It's like one person getting pinned, everyone else getting pinned, and you work through these things like kind of together. It's hard to pinpoint. This person had that shit. That person, yeah. It just that's not like the priority for us in terms of like how we measure. Sorry, Chris,
Yeah.
you've been here for a while. Yeah. Well, what
Yeah.
makes you stick around? That's like the question I've been asking everybody that comes here. It's like you're still here, so obviously something's working for you.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a lot of questions. Yeah, no, I enjoy it here. It's just I can't even say exactly what it is we do, but it's one of my favorite things that I do.
Same. It's like slowly I just start really enjoying like being with you guys.
Yeah, it's funny too, because like because a lot of the stuff we do is also it's just straight up work. It's like, oh, I gotta answer
Yeah.
emails and stuff like
Because
this. And
Chris is on the operating team.
Yeah.
yeah,
Changing
He's a
website,
teammate.
changing
Yeah.
this, changing that. Just straight up regular work.
Yeah.
uh, it's funny too. I was just thinking about how do I measure my own progress because actually I hit a period of burnout in the past week or two, and it kind of like I was like, what the fuck, man? I thought I know this process about myself. How did I get caught up in it and again, And I was kind of like started thinking about my progress and, did I make progress? Have I improved? And all these things. Because at the time it felt like no. I felt like, wow, I slipped into like a lot of old patterns. But then when I looked back and like I took a step back, I was like, yeah, maybe I like fell into some, older emotions, but I still did a lot of my duties. Like I was, I didn't like recluse, I didn't isolate, like I did all my responsibilities. Even when I felt the worst, I was still very willing to do tasks that, in that point of time, I was like, this is menial. Like, do I even have to do this? Like, fuck, I'll just do it. Right. And I think in the past, I probably would have been a lot more, I don't know, just childish about it. Like maybe I wouldn't have done it or did it last minute or something like that. But now, yeah, and I think it's something I noticed like across the board. It's just like, dude, when life happens, do you just continue? Do you continue to show up?
That's a really good point. Right? It's like you don't linger like on the maybe the
Wow.
mistakes yeah. You just move on. The latency is like is shorter. So we spend a lot of times like, man, I fucked that up. How do I gonna fix that? Go back. That would have, should have, could have. Like those latency are just like not there anymore. You make a mistake, you own up to it, move on. That's
Yeah.
a training in of itself because you have no choice because the team is moving on. You have all these people that are like working together or depending on you, depend on them. You can't linger. But then if you're in the solo realization thing, like when you siloed, it's very easy to just linger and just find this other way to fix this or that. But then you're actually looping.
Yeah,
That we have no room for that exit.
yeah. And it's like all these moments that I think I might have beat myself up about it in the past. It's like
Mm.
now I can like just watch it like, oh yeah, uh, like no judgment, like that happened and actually talk about it. Like I wouldn't even have wanted to admit this stuff in the past. I'd have like kept it secret and then, but now it's like, yeah, yeah, no. It's like
Mm.
I can see my patterns and talk about them openly. And then, it's like, yeah, you never know. You never know who's uh yeah, without even like trying to judge it one way or another, it's just okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the part about work is also interesting, right? A lot of like, I think someone asked us if we still like practice or meditate, and then we're like, that this is our practice. Like the embodiment shop, that was our practice. Like human resource right now is our practice. Sometimes our practice doesn't look spiritual. It's just doing work, like Chris doing the website, like me doing whatever it is I'm gonna do. And then throughout that process, your karma gets exhausted. Uh,
On top of actually still, sitting and
yeah, still like
Uh,
seeing the conventional progress. Yeah, but underneath that, there's things getting like boiled. Yeah, things getting cooked.
I think so point number three you want to talk about is live training is mind training. There's one insight. I think this may be the first time Wei Chang talks about this in last week. Um, yeah, which is this aspect about when the part of you that is the most mature, most disciplined, actually get exhausted, the part of you that
Mhm.
is less mature actually come forth and be the next one to get exhausted. So actually, the more you purify, the more immature you would have to face yourself. You would have to
Oh,
face
right, right.
the most immature version of yourself.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's really interesting, right? Which is like, why do I feel like I go backward? Why do I feel like a child again? Why do I feel,
Mm.
I thought I'm over this? It's
Mm.
actually in that way, like eventually we have to get the most infantile, underdeveloped part of us to come out and also rise up.
Mm. That's why it can feel so raw and vulnerable sometimes too. And that part about like I've been talking about like admitting that you're weak, admitting that you're stupid. Yeah, not to make that into a thing, but like a lot of what we're doing here is that it's just bring different aspects of ourselves that are weak, or it's not using our strength and our gift to bypass, and seeing our strength can also become our curse. Yeah, because there's so many ways to like avoid, right? You can just hide in your skills, hiding what you're good at. But then if you work as a team with other practitioners, it's you can't do that forever, actually. Yeah.
So then a lot of it is like, because right now also within our internal community, we are suggesting people for the next step of their training. If someone is like got the uh, jhanic skills down, they know how to meditate. Now we actually suggest them to go for view refinement,
Mm.
work on their intellect, work on their ability to reason. If someone who is capable of, say, sit down and have a cessation, now I recommend them to go lift, actually go train their physical body, like
Mm.
all the weak part that they left behind. Now that's becomes the next
Mm.
set of training.
Yeah. For some people, it's foundation, right? They need to like it's like a reverse boot camp where now their life should be prioritized.
Yeah.
Maybe they did like two main boot camps, but now, that doesn't mean it's easier. They're like, oh, I can focus on my life, but that could be the going in right there. It's like, okay, maybe I need to sort out my life, like you know, get a place or finally doing like what I wanted to do in terms of like life stuff, right? Life goal, relationship, tending to all this stuff.
I think that's the unique thing about, yeah, the container here, of seeing people really stepping up and be courageous, face the part that is the most challenging for them.
Like Chris, this is your first live stream, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you make
Yeah.
music. Yeah, Chris makes a lot of music. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've played in a few live streams before. But yeah, it's funny. I think when we first started spitballing about this live stream, like I don't know, 8, 9 weeks ago, I think Con, you mentioned like possibly I'd be the first guest, and I was just like immediately sweating. All it took, like, what about you, Chris? And then sweat. Like that's all it took. And then now it's like I don't know, just maybe I'm a little bit sweaty. I don't know, but
The
It's
thing
mostly
is,
chill, right?
yeah, I don't know. I wasn't. I didn't really think about this too much. I think like in the
Yeah.
past, it was back then. I would have been up all night, like, oh, what am I gonna say? It's like
Mm.
4 a.m. But now I'm just like, yeah, well, I mean, dude, we got work to do, you know? Like, it's chill.
the thing is also part of it is also the momentum that the previous guest kind of lay a trail for you to just step on it. Other people have done it. It's your turn now.
Yeah,
In a
yeah,
way, they did it for you, and it says that's the thing about like your karma is getting entangled. Like what I said earlier about like the training is really a team sport. It's like even unintentionally, like everyone I went before you, like kind of untwisted that karma of like fear of being seen. It makes this easier for you, right? Maybe.
yeah,
Yeah,
really a shared effort.
which comes to the point about people watching this. Um, I mean, it's a live stream. Maybe someone is rewatching it on YouTube, and within this medium, like the YouTube medium, a lot of folks are still much more distant, right? And just doing it all by ourselves. We watch this intuitively. We take a little bit here, a little bit there, and we watch another video, take a little bit there, a little bit there, and then we kind of put it all together to develop a practice. But I think now talking to a lot more people, there seems to be a point of saturation with that approach. It can get you started going, and you're like applying different techniques and getting into absorption, um, having experiences, but it reaches a type of ceiling where you're the only one that trying to generate everything. Yeah.
That's interesting because I was thinking about how in order to learn something, you really have to engage. And I was just thinking about my own path. It's like one of the reasons why I progress so fast, even when I was doing the solo realization thing, is because I share my journey. And in a way, I was engaging, right? I was sharing my journey, and then even the feedback, some of the feedbacks that I get is part of it. But then even that reaches the ceiling. But even that became like an audience capture, right? Even if you don't intend to, there's gonna be a karma entanglement. So that stopped working, and then now like there's a process of like renouncing from that. But I never stopped doing anything. But
Mm.
just slowly, it's like I'm not really like capture like nearly as much anymore.
Mm.
It's interesting. Yeah, I didn't stop doing anything. I didn't like take like I remember before there was always like a mindset of like okay, I'm gonna take like a year break or 3 months. It's gonna like de-escalate from this. But it's
It
just
was
like
like
bro,
scary
I
how powerful like that moment felt.
Oh, sorry.
didn't.
Adrian pop up.
Yo, CP Adrian, you guys check out the Adrian interview I just posted on my channel. It's a very good conversation. That's one of our he's the lead he leads the cohort A and he's gonna be in the public practice week, which is gonna happen in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're gonna
A
talk
lot of
about it.
next yeah, let's talk about that later. Yeah, yeah. But I guess what was my point? I forgot. Just
You are not stopping doing anything. You continue.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there are phases where renunciation, like on the conventional level, you really just stop doing whatever you got to entangle yourself in. It is important, but most people just turn that into a thing, right? Like Adrian said that he had to renounce from renunciation. He had to renounce from the fact that he was putting his athletic background, like his love of fitness, in the back seat to pursue the spiritual journey, and there was a split. And then coming in here, he reclaimed a lot of his power and utilized some of that skill, flip that karma to dharma, and now he's utilizing a lot of that skill he learned as a fitness coach to lead cohort A.
Yeah,
Like you sometimes make an analogy of like this is a team sport, guy. This you pass the ball to this guy. It's like this guy is more like playing the like a quarterback, whatever it is. Like he has a really cool analogy using sport because that's his background. Yeah.
it's the Phil Jackson of consciousness.
That's funny, man. Yeah. Yeah, I thought an example of like turning your karma to dharma, right? Um, reclaiming,
It's Adrian right
renouncing.
here.
Oh shit, you got a book?
Oh,
Did you read it? Oh, that's a huge book.
Last season, Phil
Oh
Jackson.
wow. Have you read it yet?
I haven't read it yet. I just got it.
Oh, what made you want to get that book?
I was going to a thrift store, looking around, got some
Uh,
books, and just noticed this one.
they call him the Zen master. Like I remember reading about how he used to make Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan meditate and stuff like that. And he took LSD. That's how he came up with the triangle offense. Uh, that reminds me of the Nike book that we read. A little bit. Phil Knight.
oh, Shoe Dog.
Shoot up. Yeah, yeah.
Really like that one. But why do you think? Why do you guys think that there's this phenomenon of people kind of
Lurking.
what's that?
Lurking?
Lurking. They're
Yeah.
not engaging. They're just kind of like they kind of know they want to engage, but they're just kind of shy or
Hmm.
maybe intimidated, or maybe they don't think they need it.
I know that I can relate to that when it comes to my journey right now in school in academia. Like the
Mm,
pressure to reach out to professors, building a network, relating with them, even though I know that they are very welcoming.
mm.
Hmm.
Maybe it's that the karma of not like something's gonna get pushed. Like a button might be get pushed, and you don't want to face that. But if you don't face that, you're not gonna like across the chasm, right? Like,
I think there's like just some sense of there's a consequence to it, but I don't even know what that is or like what it would look like.
What made you want to set up, Chris? What was the thing that drawing you like, okay, I'm gonna actually apply?
Oh, for CC?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, ooh, actually,
I remember your self interview
yeah,
actually. I
yeah.
don't remember a lot of stuff, but I remember yours. Like you live in LA, like or unless you're from LA and you have this like Orange County vibe to it. Uh,
Uh, it's funny. I remember I was looking for community, but like I think at that time I kind of didn't trust any community. But I
Yeah,
remember
it's that aspect as well. People will become pretty jaded.
mm,
I was
mm,
so jaded. I was at that point where I was like, I don't know if I'll like, I was like, I don't know if I'll really connect with anyone, but like, you know, I just like kind of knew like I need community. I need it from somewhere. And I'm
mm.
either gonna go, really entrench myself to the nomad community, or I'm gonna do this thing. Um, and then actually, I remember from the very first call, like I think it was like an open consult call. There was like maybe like 100 people there, maybe a bit less actually. I don't know. But you guys were doing your presentation, and we got to the discussion part, and just the quality of the questions I was hearing, I was like, "What the fuck?" Like there's some very thoughtful people here, and then hearing how people were like continue on and like discuss around these questions, I was like, wow, like there's like this level of listening here that it almost was like freaky. Like I'm not used to this. I
Mm. And
and
that's
then
from the audience that isn't even boot camp, right? Or like
yeah,
that was even before we started like officially started boot camp or
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, just
Mm,
just from the audience that you guys were attracting, I was like, wow, like I'm so about this.
mm,
And then once I was in it, I was like, yeah, I'm here. Mm. I guess when I think in terms of like what even got me to that point of like really looking for community.
You said you were jaded. Were you in other communities or online maybe?
I tried to be, or not tried. I was bouncing around a lot of different plant medicine communities, like or like kind of yoga circles. Um, yeah, and I remember I kept being like almost I guess disappointed in the same way, where it felt like so much of what was learned was then used as like a type of posture, like the spiritual materialism we sometimes talk about.
Mm,
It's like they chant enough mantras and I don't have to like, worry about my chores. It's like that doesn't make
mm.
sense, you know. And I just kept running into it in so many different places. And I think for me it was like I think I started to build a resilience of like, well, I don't need to resonate with everyone to become a part of a thing. Like I'm willing to make that leap and see what shows up. But yeah, it took a lot of time for me to build up that disposition to even just make that leap because for a lot of years I was exactly that. Like, I don't even want to raise up my hand in class because like it's just too much. There's too much pressure to ask a question in a crowd, and um, yeah, and I think that part of me was just had to be exhausted to a certain degree.
I remember the Hasi debrief for maybe the Hasi you say it took you 32 years to find us or something. Yeah, but even finding us, there's still edges to work through, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, it's funny because I think when I said that, I was speaking from a place, I was speaking from a part of me that like really is like a combination, that most immature version of myself that's like you guys don't understand me. Like you guys will never understand. And if you could understand, you wouldn't want to because it's too much. Like just
Mm,
um, and it's funny too because then it's like no, actually, I think everyone here kind of gets it. Like. You're willing to sit here with me. I'm being kind of a brat right now, you know. Um, like if you wouldn't, you know, it's like if I think about it, like if I just saw it in a vacuum, like I don't want to deal with that, no. But if I know the person, I accept them, I'm like, yeah, man, I'll sit with you with that, and that's kind of what I got, you know. Um, like, but not just like that room, not but like the whole a full circle, like you know, all the dozens of people in the CC who are willing to sit with these most immature parts of ourselves, and then we'll watch it grow.
Yeah. Yeah, because like we sometimes we talk about this companionship or compassion isn't always about uh giving you what you want to hear. Yeah. Because sometimes we can get cocooned up, like you said, in just our an echo chamber of a community. Like doesn't have an intention of like, okay, it's not always gonna be pleasant, but we care about you. That's why we're pointing out your blind spot because that's part of doing the work together. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's kind of what I felt in other places too, where it's like there's like almost a desire to pacify these childish parts of ourselves instead of
So we can hide together.
Lock them
yeah,
up,
We don't allow that in CC.
put them in the basement.
Put them all in the basement.
Yeah, so it's actually part of the work is feeling like you are losing the progress, right? Feeling like you're losing composure, feeling like just welcoming dark nights as part of the territory.
Yeah, but you're just actually highlighting more of what needs to be seen. Yeah.
I think in this cohort we emphasize a lot of honesty, right? And when we emphasize
Chronological
honesty,
honesty. Yeah.
what we see is dishonesty.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Manuel said the same thing. It's like he said no exit. He's like this container feels like there's no exit. Not like no one is forcing you to do anything. Actually, the toughest part is actually realizing you can't not do these things anymore yourself. That's the toughest part. Yeah. There's no exit in terms of like you can't hide it anymore. Even like when nobody's looking, you at first I mean you've been doing that your whole life. Like when you're siloing, no one's looking, you can get away with it. But then as the training goes on, then you start to face yourself, and we talk about like honesty and stuff. It's like you can't lie to yourself anymore after a while. It's like there's no exit in that regard. It's like
Uh,
you can't silo anymore.
yeah.
Uh,
Previously, maybe you look away, you're like, it doesn't matter. Like
yeah,
you would actually go into the mode that you just stop reflecting, stop observing.
yeah. But it's hard to do that when you have a group of people that are all like trying to be honest together. Actually, yeah, not always easy too. So. So I can understand why people might hesitate to sign up. It's like that's what going all in, right? Going back full circle. Like, do you want to go all in?
And actually, I think that based on this, that if someone is willing to go on in, really to be themselves, right?
Hmm.
No matter the level of experience, even if they are only meditating for like less than a year, but if they have the attitude and they have the uh, track record in whatever
Hmm.
ways, right? Maybe build a business or lead a
Hmm.
successful career or whatever. And now they want to apply that to realization or awakening. Then the training can work for them. Understand that at first, like all these things, oh damn, these guys seems like they've been
They're
meditating
really advanced,
for
or like
years.
all this like pedagogy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But really, that is true. A lot of people in CC practice for a long time, but there's also true that it's still back to these principles, very basic principles.
Yeah. Come as you are and be yourself. Yeah.
Right. We got one more question, and then I think we can start to wrap up with the point number 4. A little, a little outside of topic. LSD versus shroom versus 5-MeO DMT. Have you guys done it on or off the path? Are people using this for non-dual awakening? This is not an advice for anyone, just curious.
I mean, Chris, didn't you say you after talking to my girlfriend about this, how like pretty interesting how you say you took like 300 tabs of acid in like one summer. That's going all in, man. Like I wouldn't even do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can answer that question. I think maybe you do a lot of ayahuasca too. Like I've never done ayahuasca. So.
Yeah. But it's an interesting question because I don't feel like that mm, the LSD, I mean it's all part of my path at the end of the day. Um, but it's hard for me to say how much it like helped or hurt or what role it played. Um, I think there's a lot of benefit into how I know I was like really stuck. I had such a rigid way of looking at life prior to that. Like my background, like always very much into sciences, mathematics. Like I loved having a very structured, sound, logical world where I could like make predictions about the future. Felt very, very safe in that concavity. Um, and then like I think like from psychedelics, it stripped a lot of that away, that sense of security. Uh, just having to confront like, oh, maybe like I don't live in a deterministic vacuum. Like maybe maybe there's a lot more leeway in everything. Maybe even the facts that I know are facts, like even maybe there's even emptiness in that. Like maybe 2 plus 2 isn't even necessarily 4. Like that level of wow, things are empty. Uh, I say for me, like that was very valuable. Because then, like I just literally like once you see it, it's like you can't unsee it. I can't go back to just being like a number pusher. Doesn't make sense.
Was that before you got into meditation? Or like
Yeah.
non-duality or that was before?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that was like coming out of like my university days. I was like, I think I graduated 2017.
Hmm.
So then 2018 was like the summer of LSD, and then um, what was like it was like I don't know, all these things happened, and COVID happened, and then I had my own kind of intense spiritual moments there, and then like somehow around that time, I got pulled and I got called to ayahuasca around 2022, just around COVID times. And then that was like a big shift for me, actually. Actually, I will say that, like, for me, ayahuasca was a very big shift. Um, but for me, it wasn't necessarily that it changed what I was seeing. I think for me, there's so many, I guess, say compressed parts of my life, like, just all very dense parts of trauma, childhood stuff. There was like just like it's massive knots all over my body that I just could not even recognize they were there. It's like they felt foundational.
Hmm.
And so for me, it was just like, oh, for me, the medicine actually helped unlock those. And then, it's like I gained access to expression from all these parts of myself that I like didn't even know existed. It was very like, well,
Well,
um,
what are those expressions? Then weren't you like doing d dance or yoga at one point? Like
oh,
you're doing more of that.
yeah. Well, it's funny because it's all coming to fruition. Like I feel like right now.
Hmm.
I felt there's an exciting event there, like, oh yeah, like these feeling like kind of maybe deep senses of betrayal, or like which would be wrapped in like a lot of anger, like how could this happen to me? And then like underneath that, just like a really like sadness, just but then and then once all that released, there's just all this open space, like all this capacity to be like, more joyful, more happy, more silly and just like vibe around with people instead of having to like speak facts all the time and yeah, and then like that's been a very slow process of like just unraveling, not just unraveling, but it's like unraveling and then there's like building like the the pathways, right, to this is like one thing to kind of see and kind of map out what's going on in your experience, but there's another thing to like really build a bridge and yoke it into your personhood, your personality, right?
Hmm.
the point when you're walking around
That's a
like
good
day
point.
to day, it's like you know, yeah, it's like, yo, man, like I stubbed my toe like 10 years ago. I got a little like a bunion now. Like it's such a small physically traumatic event, but like I walk with that to this day, you know. And there's like so many little things in childhood, like yeah, like that these moments kind of shaped how I walk, how I talk, how I maneuver. And
That's why my point earlier is that you can't see it, right? It's like that.
yeah,
It's just like your normal reality. But then after you kind of lose it or whatever, you exhaust it, then oh, I didn't know I was in it. I didn't know I was like blinded by that. Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and you know, I guess you mentioned dancing too, but yeah, even like that was like, you know, so many of my past relationships, like, you know, a girlfriend really wants me to dance, and I'm like, and then now I'm not in a relationship. I'm like, oh, okay, that's like
hmm.
something about me really like actually likes that dynamic. I like it when they kind of push me to do this thing that I say I don't want. So then what happens if I just like push myself to do that thing? And you know, and those are kind of like some new hobbies that are coming up for me right now. Like you mentioned, dance is something I'm doing now.
Cool. Yeah, just exploring different things.
Mm.
Do we answer that guy's question?
I forgot the I forgot what it was.
I I never know how to answer those questions anymore, actually.
Uh,
Like I'm gonna ask like a lot of the questions that we get nowadays, I don't know how to answer them. Because I don't
Mm.
want to just give you like a prepackaged answer or like just coming from like my path, but it's like it's hard. Yeah, that's what the container is for. It's like we if we don't know you, it's really hard to. I'm not sure if he's asking for advice. I'm just assuming he is, but we've been trained in a way where we're more careful on giving like cookie cutter answers.
uh,
It's like,
Yeah.
it's so
It's pretty
nuanced.
it's pretty rare in CC that there's like just advice being given.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I was trying to get to in the beginning. It's like no one tells you what to do, but in a way they do, but in a way where
There's feedback.
yeah,
uh,
there's feedback. Yeah.
There's feedback, but then I mean you are respected in a way that you can take that feedback and do with what you want. You want to change this way, change it that way. There's suggestions. There are like I suggest you look into this.
Mhm,
I suggest you think about this.
mhm,
But true, like in the context of a training, very rarely there's like do this
mhm,
and only this.
mhm,
Some people would have that kind of treatment, but the vast majority of our dynamics is kind of like a exploratory process because we know people come with their background and what they've been doing, right? We don't want to just like rip it away and install something new and give you some new instruction and you just follow those instructions.
mhm. Yeah, because I also realize how like unskillful I can be when I give those answers sometimes. Even just talking to people about like even if I wasn't trying to convince them of anything, but it's like maybe it's not the right time to just like take the rock from underneath them right now. Like there's a delicate balance of like negation and affirmation
Mm.
that needs to be considered when you work with people's minds. You can't really shatter it because I made a non-dual zombie pretty depressed, so it's like, yeah, maybe I should be doing that no more.
Oh, how so?
No, just one of Gibson's friend. We've been chatting about things like this, and apparently he got a little depressed. And then the last time I talked to him, I was like, man, I don't think I'm very skillful in how I communicate these things, even on a personal level when I know that person. Yeah. So that's
Because of
that's my edge. Yeah,
the
because I like
recontextualization of like what the path looks like.
yeah, completely contextualized. Like you think you know this, but maybe you don't. Have you ever questioned this? It's like I just asked him a very fundamental question that he never investigated. I was like, if you talk about the fat, like letting go. It's like, what do you mean by letting go? It's like I never thought about that. Well, I've been trying to let go my whole life, but what is letting go? I don't even know. Shit like that, but it's just like you can really like that's why like MC say he doesn't talk to people about views. I actually didn't want to talk to anybody about him about views. He keep like asking or like poking at me I was like, all right, you want to talk about views? Let's talk about views. Because I think MC said like he fucked up someone's life doing that. It's like, are you sure you want to get into this territory? Because if you talk about views, you're gonna fuck up your life. You don't have the right container. That's why I didn't know what advice to give him. I was like, I just wanted to tell him, just come to the public practice week or something. I don't know. Like, it's just like I don't want to give him all this stuff, and then it's like, what do you do about it? You know, like it's out of my like. I was like, probably need a teacher. I was like, that's why one of my advice, they probably need teacher or like co-practitioners. That's what I told him.
Yeah. There's some sort of support and companions
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. But then there's people that would just like I think he's slowly coming to terms with like maybe he needs a teacher because for a while he's just been doing this by himself. And then I was like, if you compare all this model, he's gonna keep going online, compare this model. Like I told him to like maybe you need to renounce from this kind of this teacher. He's been talking about this teacher for like fucking 10 years. And then next time he comes to me, he's like, what do you think the Fed model, Frank? It's like, do you not like for you right now? It's not about the model. It's like, do you see your mind is still continuously try to grasp, trying to appropriate to the next stage, next thing. But you can't see that. You just like there's no one ever pointed it out to you before. You just think like you're on to the next thing, and then, but the view is not being checked, right?
Mm.
Yeah, it's just very live example of somebody who's doing it by themselves, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
It's funny you mentioned like, dude, I think before CC, I was so annoying because I had no one to talk to about this stuff, and I wanted to talk to everybody about it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you want to
yeah,
hear.
yeah,
I was just kind of like, I was like silently like,
yeah.
please, someone ask me about something. Uh,
I think that's an interesting thing about CC container is like you do reach a point that you have a sufficient amount of I talk about this enough. I want to talk about something else now.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one thing about C is like when everyone gets it, it's like there's no you don't need to feel like you're inclined to want to talk about these things after a while. Some people come in here at first a few weeks, they're like really happy to share. Finally, some people get it, but then after a while, they're just like, I think everyone gets it now. I don't need to talk about it anymore. They start moving on to to like
Just
other
like
versions.
chilling out and actually allowing more stuff to comes up, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because like if you continuously talk about this stuff, like that can be its own echo chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Um,
yes, I feel it's like another part of conversations now too, instead of the conversation. Like, you know what I mean? It's like we could talk about like basketball, and that could turn a little bit into like Dharma, and then that leads into like, like shoes or like, it's
yeah.
instead of being a dominating thing, it's actually now more of a connector to all these different
Mm.
parts of my life.
Yeah, it's not a
You don't even
separate
have to talk about.
topic
Yeah, it's
anymore.
not a separate thing. It's not a separate topic. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I think it's like yeah, like we were mentioning that we can talk about pedagogy, we could talk about these different aspects of how the training model works. But I think mm, the most effective way to really frame what we're doing here is just companionship.
Mm.
It's training together, developing relationship together. But that requires, the
That gives
desire,
a lot of courage, to be honest.
yeah,
Yeah.
to step in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To step in that way. And yeah, so we do. Frank was mentioning that we do have a mini boot camp coming up, as
Yeah.
you
Chris
guys
is
know.
gonna be there. Adrian's gonna be there. Like everyone you've seen on our show is gonna be there. Yeah.
As you guys see that, I just posted the link to register the training in the chat. You guys can check that out. But the premise is that the boot camp is 90 days. It's gonna be a big commitment. So the mini boot camp will be 5 days for you to get a taste, enjoy the container, come practice. See you if you've been practicing this alone or just trying to put everything together by yourself. See what happens to step into the container like that. Yeah. And get a direct experience of companionship, having feedback pointed out, learning from one another, um, sharing a transmission space with one another. Like all those aspects will be available.
17th. Next
Yep.
next week. Yeah. That's gonna like that's why a lot of times we the team is training for that. Even the people who are in the boot camp right now, the acolytes. Now that's their space to kind of test their fitness. Like that's when we pick actually. When we bring the outside in and then inside out. Yeah.
So August 17th, we're gonna have 5 days from August 17th to August 22nd. And I think it's 21st. Yeah, I think it's 21st.
21st, but this is a Saturday thing, right? 21st is a Friday, I think.
We don't
21st.
have a Saturday thing anymore, so we're just 5 days.
Okay.
So that'll be 5 days training together, and looking forward to see you guys there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris. All
Guys.
right. Thanks for
Well,
the questions.
thank you guys for the questions, and we hope to see you guys later.